Hi, it's Susan here. Finally, another tutorial for you. Here's a little picture of the things that I'll be using today. First, I'm going to take this Happy Dotting Company mold and I'm going to paint it all black once it's completely dry. Then I'm going to eyeball the center of this stone and draw a 16 grid stencil on it. So the colors today I've used are Tuscan Red and Cinnamon Drop. The Cinnamon Drop I ended up adding a drop of white and Strawberry, Fuchsia Pop, and Lavender with a couple of metallics to go with these, and gold, although I didn't film me putting the gold in the tray. But I've also ended up using just the gold Novo drops. And if you don't have gold Novo drops in mustard gold, you can use just regular gold paint. There's absolutely no need to go and purchase something just because I've used it. So, as any of you that have followed me over some time, you know that I try to do most of my videos in real time, and that's to help a lot of the beginner mandala artists to follow along and keep pace. This one mostly just showing you the pattern that I did, and so everything is slightly sped up because I really don't dot this fast. In YouTube, there is an ability to slow down videos, and I'm sure you can just pause as we go along. I don't think I'll be adding music to the video because I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to get the right music for everybody, and also I paid for music in a lot of my videos and end up getting a copyright warning, so I don't know. Still have to figure that out one of these days, but if you're not hearing music, it's because I didn't put it in. Anyway, we'll see what the end editing comes up with, but you can always play your own music in the background. So here I'm just doing an offset row. Increase the size of your stylus just a little bit or add more paint, and just getting that little dot in between the previous row. For this pattern, I decided to put some sparkly little gemstones in. These ones are in a rose red, and I got them off of Temu. There's other sites that you can get them, either Amazon or AliExpress. I do find that ordering from Temu or AliExpress are a little bit cheaper. I think for 100 or 150, it's like $3. So you should never have to pay more than that. And I almost always get a really good deal on shipping. And sometimes I don't even have to pay for the shipping. So shop around. I certainly would not get them off of Amazon though, or other places if you are budget conscious. So I'm just marking, getting an idea here where I want to place them. And I ended up just tracing around the gemstones as I find that's easier for me to do, but you can use a little putty to keep them in place while you're painting. This is the type of putty that you can use. I just got that at the dollar store. And if you're choosing not to use gemstones, the Novo dotting tool will work just fine. I think number 5 here. And you could probably pick any color, whether it be the ruby red, or sorry, festive red, metallic, or the purple would be really pretty. And just draw it in there and paint. When I do my tapers, I often like to do the right side first, as you can see, going towards the center of the mandala. And then when I do the other side, I start across from me and dot towards me. And I find this way I can see what I'm dotting easier, and I get a more consistent look to my dots. Doing another row of dots here. We are just doing a nice big plump dot here first, and then I'm going to use a smaller size to do the tapers, and just be really conscious that when you're doing this, our space is a little bit tight in there. So I'm using the 2mm, and I'm getting it nice and snug to the previous row so that I don't overlap my white dots. And if you go a little slower, sometimes that's easier, but just really focusing on that space and you should be fine. And there you go. You can see I had enough room there for both those rows. As you paint, the paint in your tray will get a little bit drier, so it's good to clean your tool off every so often, otherwise your dots will get bigger. Throughout the video, you will see me add a bit of fluid to my paint in some of the trays, and what I'm using is Flow Aid by Liquitex, and it just thins it down so it's not so clumpy. With this little dot that I put in here, it's just to add a little flash of color, and it's okay if you dot right over top of any of those little micro dots down there. It won't make any difference. For this part, you can use the number 4 oval tool here. If you don't have oval tools, then probably the number 6mm, and I'm using the Tuscan Red here. One little thing I find with the oval tools and other shapes is I find it works better for me if I rock it back and forth a little bit lightly just to get that shape. And then the other thing I do afterwards is just go over with a stylus to spread all the paint out, because it has a tendency to accumulate in a little shape in the middle. So if you're going to do any design on top of this, just smooth it out with your stylus so the paint is flat. And that's a good practice for other shape dots if you're going to be doing top dots on them, to have that first dot nice and flat. For this part, I'm just doing 3 little dots, all roughly the same size. And then I will take it down to 1.5 millimeter and then taper down the sides. And that just gives a different detail or a different shape to this petal than the previous row. So this part is I'm going to be doing a brush stroke, and if you don't have brushes or you're not comfortable doing brushes yet, you can just use a stylus. Probably a 2.5 millimeter would do the job just fine, but make sure you load up with lots of paint so that you're able to get the stroke down beyond the gold dot there. And as I said previously, I've just added a bit of flow aid to my paint here because it was drying up a bit, so it was getting a bit thick. You want a nice, thinner paint consistency to get a nice brush stroke. That way you can get a nice taper on the end as well. If you find that your brush strokes are kind of bulky at the end, it might be just your paint consistency. So there I press down and then I gradually pull up with the tip, and then you get that pretty brush stroke. It is definitely more of a challenge to do it on a curved surface like this. It's something that I still have to practice at myself. You can see I've got my little pinky resting on the stone there just to give me some stability, and try to keep that nice and smooth there. So of course this is sped up here. I do not paint this fast. This shape is a little harder for me going from the bottom up because it's really hard to see over my hand on the left side. The right side's not so bad. This particular color I found, which one is that? That's the strawberry. It dried a little bit darker, so I will be going over this with a little flash of the red metallic once this is dry. Darn cat hairs. We got a new kitten, so now I have not only Winston, who's my long-haired cat, I now have a little girl kitten, so I'm noticing a lot more hair all over the place. Anyway, that's why God created Q-tips. For this next part is where I'm going to use the gold, mustard gold Novo drop, and I like to use a 0.5 millimeter stylus to drag the paint up towards the white dot. And there you go. So when I grab the gold paint, it's like if you were to look at the gold dot as a circle, I'm not pulling the paint from the middle of the drop. I pull it from sort of like the last little bit of the gold, and then that gets it a little bit more of a lollipop shape. If you pull the paint from the part of the dot that's closest to you, you're going to get a little longer tapered dot. Anyway, you can play with it on paper and you can see what I'm talking about. Maybe one of these days I'll do a mini tutorial on getting different shapes with your dots. Anyway, I do this all the way around, and then I find if I let this one dry a little bit, when I come in and do the next two on either side of it, this one will be dry, and they don't bleed into each other as much. So you can see the color difference between the middle one, which is dry, and the new ones I'm putting in are lighter. So the gold does dry a little bit darker. When you're painting on the sides, sometimes if you raise up your mandala so it's a little higher, then you can turn it without getting your fingers in it. That's why I like these little turntables. And here I'm just placing 3 little dots just to add a little detail and sparkle at the end of this gold swoosh. Here's a close-up of what it looks like. And I've just placed the gemstones on just to see how I like them. You'll see later on in the video that I actually alternated from a darker pink one to a light, more clear one. I thought it gave a bit more sparkle. This is completely optional, but I figured that since we've got lots of sparkle going on, we may as well carry on. So I'm just taking a very light dip of paint, the purple metallic, and just going over top of these, making sure I still leave a bit of a border of the original purple, and I'll do that all the way around. And I decided to do the red metallic over top of the other outside swoosh here, just because I felt it dried a little bit dark, and so that'll just give it a little bit more of make it stand out a little bit more. So sorry, this is slightly out of scene, but this is the white pearl. Just doing a small little top dot on that Fuchsia Pop at the bottom of that petal. You'll see that shortly. There you go. And just like our other 3 dots that we did below the gold swoosh, we're doing the same at the bottom, just under that Fuchsia Pop dot. And it kind of repeats that look of a little bit of twinkle at the end of these petals. And another close-up so you can see. So here you can see I've added a few other little details that I did not record, as it's sort of optional. You can stop at any point, of course. I added a gold dot in the middle and some little white swooshes beside that purple one. So I have sealed it up already with Duraclear. I do 3 coats. And this Glossy Accents by Ranger I find really nice for gluing on. The reason is that when it dries, it's crystal clear. Some glues I have found, they dry a sort of crunchy matte look to it if it squishes out, if you know what I mean. So this one, if there is any extra product, when it dries, it's absolutely clear and shiny, so I don't have any problems with it, and it adheres very well. But you know, it doesn't have to be any fancy glue, just a little drop to hold these on. And this is where you'll see that I changed up the crystals or gems that I decided on. This is one that's a little more clear, and then I'll alternate it with the dark pink one. In this picture, you can also see the little white swooshes that I added a little better, just a little extra detail, and also I did it on the gold swooshes on the outside ones. Again, that's totally optional. Also, I used white Novo on the end of the white tapers, like the big dot there. It looks like a little pearl there. So you can add or subtract as much as you want to any of these mandalas, which is the fun part of it. At this point, I want to ask something of you. If you are not a follower of my channel, maybe this would be a great time to follow. I noticed that about 50% of the people who watch my videos aren't actually followers, so that really helps me to attract people to my channel to watch, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And also, I will try and put links to the products that I use in my video description. I will do my best to make them like links to US people. Some of them might come up as Canadian, but you can just search for the product. Thanks again for watching, and here it is, all done. One final little thing I'm excited to say, that if you would prefer to have a paper copy of this pattern or digital copy, this will be available on my good friend Erin's Etsy site, and I will link that in the description below. And that's Poppy Rocks Victoria CA.